Good morning, friends. I am going to jump right into the little chat of the day that will be a nice little preview for the activity I have planned later, which is a little preparation for the Ostara ritual that we will be doing tomorrow for the spring equinox. So, to prepare for that, I wanted to give a little highlight of why I do this and why I find it to be so beneficial. And I always hesitate to use the word pagan when I describe what I'm doing because I don't see what I do as following a theological set of beliefs. It's more just me making observations about the world around me and using that to feel connected to the world and to see it as a reflection of the kind of power and the resources that are available to me. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. So whether you have a heritage in like Europe where a lot of the pagan beliefs were practiced for long periods of time throughout history, whether you're Celtic or Irish or Scottish, what have you, doesn't really matter. I just started pursuing learning about this because of my heritage, because I just always thought it was interesting. And so that's what my focus has become. But I really think that anybody on this earth should be able to take the simple concepts and put them into practice for their own benefit. So more than creating a doctrination where you have to do things a certain way in order to get a certain result, and then that's supposed to apply for everybody, like that just doesn't really make sense. So that's where I kind of stray from seeing it as a religion, because I don't mean to preach what I practice as exactly what I expect other people to do. What I do as my ritual practice and celebrating nature through these natural cycles that are occurring in nature, which is when I do my solar, like solstice and equinox celebrations, and then my full moon rituals. They're based off of following these natural cycles that are already just naturally occurring. And the way that I celebrate is just very personal. It's using just things that I literally have in my own environment. So everyone is going to have a different practice based on their different environment, the atmosphere, what the resources that they have access to, and a huge variety of other factors. So that's why I would call this more of a spiritual practice, because it's your own personal, unique connection with the world around you and taking the opportunities that are naturally occurring in your own world around you and using those opportunities and that power to further influence your own imagination and your own creative power and to inspire you. And that is where I think a lot of these myths and legends came from that are part of specifically the Celtic pantheon, which I've already spoken about at length. I've talked about a lot of them. And, I think that the reason why these stories are so crazy is because they are symbolic representations of the awesome and crazy power of nature that, hundreds, thousands of years ago, people didn't have a smartphone to entertain themselves. Obviously, nature is like, I mean, most people still watch nature shows. I still watch nature shows all the time. It's fascinating. So, wanting to kind of harness that power and tune into it, that's just seems like something natural to me. And I think it's something that we can still do in this modern age, even with all the technology that we have. I think it's still very beneficial. So that's why I like to share this stuff and encourage other people to find ways of their own to practice. So it really is all about just going with the natural order of your own environment and your own world. And above that, if you want to go, that's like the intention, it's the foundation of it. And then my own personal beliefs that I try to work into my personal practice, my spiritual practice, regarding, emulating and embodying what I appreciate about nature, is celebrating bounty and unbiased generosity. So, if you put in the right elements into the equation, take like a garden, for example, if you're trying to grow a garden and have great bounty, then you're going to need to put a lot of time and care into that, and the right elements need to go into it. And if all the right elements come together, you're going to have a great harvest, and nature is going to just provide that because that's like just the result, and it's unbiased. Doesn't matter what kind of person you are, what your moral standards are. If you follow that equation, then you will end up with that result. And I think it's just worth acknowledging that that is just a part of nature. And I mean, you can also just look at it with like natural disasters also. I mean, I know there's people that believe that they're like God punishing the earth or something like that. Personally, I don't believe that. It's scientifically the result of certain elements coming together under certain conditions. And, it's a reaction of elements on the earth. That's how we get crazy natural disasters. They don't happen because of some weird moral dilemma. So, just kind of acknowledging that the unbiased results of nature, for whatever you put into it, it's what's gonna come back out. So also, duality is not just like good and bad. It's a representation of like masculine and feminine energy, and not just those two as separate extremes, but as sort of a spectrum that everything exists in between. These two extreme concepts that don't even exist as absolutes in nature. Everything exists on this spectrum in between. And if you look at nature, the in-between times of right now in nature, when we're reaching the spring equinox, which is right between the longest day of the year and the shortest day of the year, two extremes, this is when creation happens, when things are in progress and they are transforming in the in-between, and they are in flux. That's when you have the chance for creation. And patience and perseverance are also a part of that. So you can't just have all these conditions and then be like, all right, I want the result right now. It takes time and strength. You have to be strong enough to wait and to believe in your efforts that they will yield the result that you want. And you have to be strong enough to assess yourself and to be present in whatever you're pursuing so that you can continue making the right steps and not just blindly go forward with a plan, that doesn't reflect what you're actually going through and where you're actually at. So being present is super important. And obviously love, because that's just something that we can offer the world and doesn't hurt. So I think that that's just something to keep in mind as well. If you've ever had a lot of houseplants, you know that when you give them love, they flourish. So just saying, part of the natural order, if you ask me. So the last thing that I want to mention about this is the astrology approach that I have been working into my ritual, and just how I approach things and kind of frame what I'm doing with my environment in the world, and the opportunities that I have. So, especially in a time where we have access to so much information that isn't right in our direct environment and in our world personally, in our little personal sphere, our bubble, it's hard to focus on what your actual opportunities are. You see other people and the opportunities they have, and you start to get down on yourself and compare, and you might start to pine after something that's not attainable and doesn't actually align with your path. So, using the astrology info, which is just tracking planetary transits and orbits and stuff, which is actual scientific information, if you use that and pay attention to the influences that you're actually feeling, collect data on that, you can become your own case study. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And I've seen patterns that now I know I can use to my advantage, and I know like when I can kind of focus on certain things and other things, and it just keeps me inspired to maybe focus on one area of my life on this day, or certain energies are coming into play with each other, then I can use that to my advantage. It's just it's an extra set of resources that are at pretty much anyone's disposal that has the technology to track this stuff, which our apps on our phone make it super easy and accessible. Thousands of years ago, they were still tracking this stuff, but they were using, like, actually looking at the sky and primitive tools. So this is an ancient practice as well. So I think that it's important and worthwhile to include it. And I also just think it's really fascinating. So overall, if something is interesting to you, pursue it, check it out, see how you can work it into your life and into your practice, and see how it aligns with your intentions and the path that you want to take. So that is pretty much all I have to say about how I see pagan beliefs manifesting in the modern world and how they can be used. And I think a lot of people utilize them without even knowing, and already are kind of tuned into it accidentally, and that's just really cool also. But that doesn't mean that you can't start looking into it and start utilizing it even more and tracking what you're doing, because it just is even more beneficial that way. So then you can also help other people because you have kind of a case study to work off of. So I hope that this is helpful for anyone who's been wondering about the stuff. Please reach out if you would like to know more, or if you would like even a free reading, if you would like help figuring out a schedule that goes along with any of these natural cycles and planning some rituals for yourself. I would love to help. That's what I'm here for, and I'm here just to talk if you guys want to as well. Obviously, I love to talk, and the moon's in Gemini, so I'm ready to go. Anyway, I have a lot of other stuff to get done today, so I will be coming back to workout with you guys later this afternoon, and then we'll do some art, and then we will do our ritual prep, and then tomorrow is our last day. Very exciting. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.